Well, good morning. Today we're going to read from Luke 4. We're going to start at verse 23 and read through 30. Jesus said to them, "Doubtless you will quote to me this proverb, 'Physician, heal yourself. What we have heard you did at Capernaum, do here in your hometown as well.' And he said, 'Truly I say to you, no prophet is acceptable in his hometown. But in truth I tell you, there were many widows in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the heavens were shut up 3 years and 6 months, and a great famine came over all the land. And Elijah was sent to none of them, but only to Zarephath in the land of Sidon, to a woman who was a widow. And there were many lepers in Israel in the time of the prophet Elisha, and none of them was cleansed, but only Naaman the Syrian. When they heard these things, all in the synagogue were filled with wrath. And they rose up and drove him out of town and brought him to the brow of the hill on which their town was built, so that they could throw him down the cliff. But passing through their midst, he went away." So this picks up right after the verse that says, "All spoke well of him and marveled at his teaching. And they said, 'Isn't this Joseph's son?'" So it's almost as though Jesus picks a fight. I think there's more to the conversation that was not included. I think some of that has been shortened and left out, maybe. So I don't know, except that Jesus seems pretty antagonistic and basically says, "Well, you're not going to listen to me, so the heck with you," and then compares them to Israel in the time of Elisha and Elijah, when Israel wasn't given food or relief from the famine, but these foreigners were. And so you kind of got to wonder what Jesus is up to here. But basically, I think the issue is that people in his hometown don't really receive him well. Something must have happened that was left out of the scripture or something. The way I read it, I just don't understand why. But at any rate, this is what it says. And Jesus sort of pokes at him a little bit, and they decide to kill him. And they're going to chase him up to the top of this cliff, this hill, and throw him off. But he walks through the midst and goes away. So they're scared to touch him, scared to grab him, I think. So he manages to go away, and he goes to, as we'll see tomorrow, he goes to Capernaum, which is a place where he is well received. So the folks in Nazareth don't manage to kill him, and he gets away, and he doesn't really go back there very much. He sort of stays in other places where he's received better. So one question could be, how do we receive Jesus? Now, we talk a lot in our day about, you have to accept Jesus into your heart, and I suppose you do. That is a very, very modern way of putting it, and despite what people will tell you, that only came to be a thing, in the 1800s or early 1900s. It's not an ancient way of seeing faith at all. And it's mostly American. So go figure there. But that's the way we think of this. They didn't accept him, so he sort of washed his hands of them and went somewhere else. That's kind of what happened. But they didn't accept him because they knew him too well. They knew who he was. They knew all about him. And they're like, this guy is the Messiah? No, we don't think so. We remember when he was, in middle school and used to do all these things. And so it's just hard to go back to your hometown and function, especially in religion. And so that's part of the problem. So Jesus is not accepted in Nazareth, and he goes on to other places, which is good because he travels all over the Galilee part of ancient Israel, and then he goes down into Judea and spreads his message, and it's well received in most places. So this is just the one place that where they don't want to hear it, and that's the way it is. So think of that today, and reflect on the fact that Jesus points out to them, Elijah wasn't going to do anything about this famine, but yet he went to this woman in Sidon up in Lebanon and helped her. Elisha didn't do anything for Israel, but then Naaman the Syrian, who was a captain in the Roman army, came down to see Jesus and sort of demanded that he be healed, and Jesus said, "All right, well, go wash in the stream." And the man did, but he complained about, oh, there are bigger streams in where I live in Syria, and Jesus says, "Go wash in that stream," and so he does, and he's healed. And so there's some learning that goes on there for these outsiders too. So have a great day, and we will see you again tomorrow.